How do you think about this context of finding some level of work-life balance or integration across strength, energy, love, and freedom?
I'm going to just slightly tweak it and say harmony, because I found balance is really difficult to have them equal. When it comes to these three, strength, energy, love, and freedom, looking inward and saying, how am I doing from my strength side of things in terms of mental, emotional, and physical? Because those, in my opinion, are the three biggest buckets that we live in, is our mental side, our emotional side, and our physical side. The belief side is a lot of what we're talking about. That's the mindset, right? Now, companies, people, we have some positive beliefs and some aren't so great. We picked up self-limiting beliefs along the way. And my favorite quote from Henry Ford is, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And that's a belief thing. So if you believe you can do this, you're right. You can absolutely accomplish it. If you don't think you can, you're right. You're not going to be able to. And then they're miserable. It's like, well, it's probably because you're not aligned with what you really wanted. If I wanted freedom and I built a company that I have to be there 80 hours a week, you're going to be miserable. But if I wanted freedom and I built a company that was truly passive income, great. Those things are in alignment. That's a good thing to do. And so it is making sure, what do you really want? And no one can answer that but you.
My very special guest helps leaders and teams excel through winning cultures, mindset mastery, and practical strategies. As a leadership and performance coach, international speaker, and host of the Let's Go Win podcast, he has spent over 20 years building thriving companies and elite sales teams. Through his signature Win From Within coaching program, he empowers professionals to achieve true work-life harmony, doubling revenue while creating engaged teams and meaningful relationships at home. He is J.M. Ryerson. Welcome to the show, J.M.
Matt, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
I love your energy. When we had our first conversation, we got a chance. We got introduced by PFN, and it was just really great to chat with you. And I said, man, I got to get this guy on my air, because my listeners, they really wanted to accomplish all of those big goals, right? So how do we drive high levels of performance for ourselves and our teams? But we want to get the people part right. We also want to live a purposeful, intentional life. You're all about that. So I'm like, let's go.
Well, brother, I feel equally blessed getting a chance to know what you're doing, the way you serve. So yeah, brother, I love serving people, helping people any way that I can. And I think energy is a big part of it, right? We all want and need more energy. And so doing what we're doing today, this fills my bucket completely.
Well, let's get you started back in the beginning. And I know that earlier in your career, you had built and sold 3 companies in the financial services space. So already most people would call timeout. This guy won. It's over. Let's just pull up our stakes and go home. No. I have this follow-on question though. What did your experience teach you when it comes to sort of the human elements that drive performance? I mentioned earlier that we got this complex cocktail going on here, but that experience of building and selling those companies, what did you learn about the human side of what it takes to succeed?
I mean, I learned really early on, do what you're good at and what you love. So yes, I was in the financial service space, and I will be the first, Matt, to say, I don't know anything about financial services. I really don't. And the reason I was able to do what I did is because I did what I was good at and what I enjoyed doing, which is sales, leadership, and building teams. That was it. Like, we built awesome distribution, but I had people that were experts when it came to the training of the products, came to the strategy of what we're, selling. I stayed in my lane. And I think so often the human side of things, when you do things that you're completely aligned with, and that's why I teach the ABC framework. I'm like, look, A starts with alignment. What do you want? Are you good at it? Do you enjoy it? And if you find that, I find that it's really, really easy to build some cool stuff. But if you're trying to be something that you're not, like if I tried to be an accountant, it's going to go really bad. I promise you. If I tried to be, a CTO, like it's anything tech related, brother, it's going to go even worse. So I think the human side of things is figure out what you're good with, accept it, be cool with it. And by the way, I believe in having a growth mindset, but don't fight it. I'm never going to be an accountant. I'm okay with that. I gave up on my MBA dream, 20 some odd years ago. I know what I'm good at, and I've been able to find that it fills me up. So I guess that's the human side that really came into play.
I wonder what it is that pulls us to be inauthentic. Are we just afraid that we're going to be less, or people won't take us seriously unless we try to be good at everything, but then we don't master any of them? Or do we feel guilty almost if there's some part of something that, you know what, I'll just figure out how to do this myself. I don't want to ask somebody else to do it. What do you think leads us sometimes to try to go to places that we just really shouldn't be going?
Yeah, I think the ego gets involved big time. And what you just said is, I don't want to bother anybody. And how am I going to find somebody that's good at this? Well, whatever you're great at. So whatever, when you're sitting there, any audience listening, you're like, I'm really good at this. Well, first off, get clear on that. And when you do, like, I'm good at this. Well, guess what? There's somebody that's really good at what you're not good at. And I'll give you a good example. I'm right in my company right today. Yes, I've built some cool stuff, but I'm sitting on this gold mine of Let's Go Win, and we're doing some cool stuff. But it could go stratospheric to the next level if I had an amazing marketing person truly vested. Like, when they have that skill, I don't. I know that. I'm great at sales, leadership, building teams. That's it. And so I'm sitting here right now. Now the challenge, Matt, is how do I find that right person? Do I, manifest it? Do I put it out to the, and the social media world? And I think you have to do all of the above. And when you find that alignment, oh man, now that's when you have these really cool moments where you get to build and then sell teams or sell companies, excuse me.
It was such a revelation for me too, to realize that there are people who love doing things that I don't love. I don't know. It was early in my career. I was so myopically focused on my own sort of head thrash and just experience it. And it's almost like I was apologetic as a young manager, giving people assignments of things that I just wasn't good at and didn't enjoy. And their eyes would light up like, oh, this is exactly, organizing these files is exactly how I love to spend my day. I'm like, really? You're like, yeah, what a revelation. What a relief it was too. And then realizing, oh, wait, first of all, I got to recruit those people and find them. And they may be other employees in the company, but I have to kind of get them onto my project or hire them outright, as you did as an entrepreneur. But then also learn how to work with them and give them what they need. So that's not the end of it, but I think that awareness is a huge first step, as you pointed out.
Yeah, and it is funny coming to grips with that. Like, again, I mentioned having a growth mindset. My wife, when I'll say I'm not technically sound or I'm not very technical or good at technology, she's like, well, I thought you believed in having a growth mindset. I'm like, babe, I do, but I know my short side. Like, I'm just not, for whatever reason. And so I think coming to grips with that and being okay with the fact that I want to learn it, just not very good at it, doesn't fill my bucket, that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that it's like any rubber band. We can stretch, but we shouldn't stretch past the breaking point or expect that we're going to. I don't think it's necessarily defeatist to say that there's just some things that I don't enjoy. At my advanced age, I don't necessarily want to learn how to do some of those things. So, yeah, fixed is like it can't ever get better, but growth like has. There's probably a happy medium in there, perhaps somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It comes up all the time. Real estate investing. I have a ton of friends that are great at real estate investing, and I'm like, oh, I should really want to do it. I just don't. I doesn't fill my bucket. So I let my wife do that because it fills hers. And it's pretty simple when you figure those things out.
Yeah, that's nice. And I like that, your superpowers you don't have to have them all, but you got to make sure you've got the one, and you certainly found yours. And so when you think about now, we'll fast forward in the arc here, and now you're in this program, you're running this company, you're giving back. Like you said, you're showing up in service and you're helping people kind of get past some of what's holding them back. And you have this program known as the self-coaching program. And those 4 elements are strength, energy, love, and freedom. And I know that they don't exist in a vacuum, or at least in isolation. There's some relationship between them. But how do you think about this context of finding some level of work-life balance or integration across strength, energy, love, and freedom?
Yeah. So I used to use the same word balance for years. And here's what I would say. I'm going to just slightly tweak it and say harmony, because I found balance is really, really, really difficult to, have them equal. Yeah, when it comes to these 3, strength, energy, love, and freedom, is looking inward and saying, what are my, how am I doing from my strength side of things in terms of mental, emotional, and physical? And then I go to same thing with the E, same thing with the L, same thing with the F, because those, in my opinion, are the 3 biggest buckets that we live in is our mental side, our emotional side, and our physical side. And when you check in on these areas, it's like, so let's just take physical strength, for instance. Everybody knows to work out. Now, we just talked about it. Maybe I don't love to lift weights. I can't tell you how many people I know don't love to work out. I love it. It makes me happy. It fills my bucket. But that doesn't make it good or bad. It's just something I enjoy. But we all know we need to move the body, right? So one of my best friends, he hates to lift weights. Well, it still need to do physical strength of some sort. So don't lift weights. No big deal. Figure out playing tennis or walking or whatever it is. And I think that's the idea here is for the physical strength side, what is something you do and enjoy? Same thing for the mental, on the energy side, what are you doing emotionally to really fill your buckets? And you can go through each one of those and just check in and say, am I filling my buckets in these areas? And if I'm not, why not? And what can I do to find it? And when you find it, Matt, now it's like, oh my gosh, this feels really good. I don't have to be completely drained, at work or at home, because that ends to, breaking things in chaos. So that's the idea, is I really want people to check in on those 4 areas.
And I think that what I'm hearing you say that too, JM, is when you get into the integration of them. So you think about that, we've all had those times when work is so busy that we're just like, you know what, I'm going to skip the gym today. You're like, okay, great. Now physically you're not feeling quite so great. And then your mindset gets polluted a little bit and you're like, here comes the self-love, turns into self-doubt or self-criticism. Oh, I should have gone to the gym, or whatever it might be. And if it happens for a long period of time, before you know it, you're in this downward spiral. And then you're like, oh geez, how did I get here? And it's like, it's easy for that to happen because these things are more connected sometimes than we give them credit for.
What was amazing is you literally just stepped through just like that with one example of the gym. It was beautiful because you're like, all right, I didn't want to go to the gym, so my physical strength is down. Now, from an energy standpoint, I'm a little bit lower than I want to be. You even mentioned self-love. Now I'm beating myself up about not going to the gym. And this leads to not having freedom of actually just being, from a mental side of things, actually free. And you're right. It all started with this one simple decision. Now, look, we're all going to skip the gym. That's okay. Just make sure that it doesn't become habitual, right? That we are checking in on to your example, the physical strength side of things. And again, I'm not saying to lift. I don't care what you do, find something to move the body. But it was amazing the way you stepped through that. I'm like, holy cow, you literally went right down the line. That was beautiful.
I was totally hypothetical. I wasn't talking about myself at all there, JM. It was a friend of mine. He's from Canada. You wouldn't know him. We've all been there, right? Maybe that's why it popped into my head so quickly. But it is, I find it both, on the one hand, it's a little bit, I don't want to say discouraging, but the reality is that things can slip away pretty quickly. And I think right now, a lot of people are feeling distress in their jobs. They're anxious about the economy, whatever. It's easy for these things to kind of slide off the table. But the good news in the integration too, though, is that because everything's connected, you start picking 1 or 2 of those levers. Don't be surprised when you lift the others too. So it doesn't necessarily always have to work against us. That's that fixed mindset. Maybe we're connecting some threads here, but I feel like, you know what, pick one. Maybe if you don't feel like physical is really the time of that for right now, pick your energy and figure out, just do an energy audit or something like that. Like they are connected and they will create, you'll reverse the cycle, I think.
Yeah, it's a massive point. I mean, literally, when I was going through, my wife and I were separated for a year. My one starting point to exactly what you said, I just started waking up, going to the gym. That was the first domino, and then everything else fell into place, right? And so it's really we're not complex. We really aren't. Our minds feel complex, but to your point, just find that one thing to start to better yourself, make yourself feel that much better. Oh, now we create momentum. Now we want to do more things.
I love that domino analogy because a lot of times you think about dominoes and the connection and we're pushing them over. And it's true that sometimes that can be a bad way if we frame it as such, but it can also be a good thing. And you found that domino of saying, if I could just get myself regularly going to the gym, I'll feel better. My mindset will be better. And eventually, things, because of the connection, they turn things around. I was going to make the connection because it was a classic sort of a reframe that you made in your mind saying like, okay, this I can control, this I'm going to work on, whatever it might be. But you have another reframe, I think, that's really timely right now because we're trying to absorb so much change. It's just every conversation I have with leaders at every level, we're either dealing with change ourselves or we're trying to coax people through change that they're experiencing. It's what it is. But a lot of times you use this language around not looking at it as change, but upgrade. you're talking about upgrading something, and that mindset shift is really, really powerful, I think. But can you tell us more about how come you've used that term now around upgrade? Where did it come from, and how do you use it in your work with clients today?
Changed my entire coaching, and it happened just my wife is from Northern California, and I was ready to leave that state because I wanted to sell a business. So let's just call it what it was. So it's a change. I'm taking her from her element that she has known and loved for virtually her entirety of her life. And I kept trying, let's change, let's move here. People don't like change. They resist it, right? Now, when you frame it as in, hey, let's upgrade by going here, and here's all the amazing things that are going to come from it. Now it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. It's still a change, but because she saw it as an upgrade, it's like, awesome. And here's the most basic example. I walk up to an airline counter and they're like, hey, Mr. Ryerson, you're in coach seat 25C. Okay, great. But actually, we're going to upgrade you to first class. Now, it is a change from my commercial, my coach seat to now first class. But it's an upgrade. Am I excited or am I disappointed? Well, no, of course I'm excited. And I can go through countless examples. People upgrade their phones all the time. It's a change, but because you see the upgrades, you're like, yes. Well, if you reframe it for yourself, if I want to upgrade my health, I'm going to see myself as an athlete and go to the gym or go walking. Well, it's a change. You went from being stagnant to doing this, but if you're upgrading yourself. And so that simple word, Matt, it is wild, brother, because my clients felt like I was judging them when I was like, let's change this. But if I say, hey, would you consider this upgrade? They're like, oh, hell yeah, I will. And it's just wild. I wish I don't know why it took me 20 years to literally figure out this word upgrade, how important it is.
But you're so right that it shows up in so many parts of our life, whether, air travel, sure, phones, et cetera. And it is a little bit, I think a lot of times people automatically experience change and they think sometimes I didn't ask for this. Like this was happening with AI for a lot of people right now, or I had it just the way I wanted and now it's changing. Or, now we have Gen Z people entering the workforce and they've got a whole different way of talking and a whole different set of expectations. I didn't ask for this. And you're like, well, wait a second. The idea that we can ever hold something fixed and it's never going to change is already problematic in and of itself. So if there's going to have to be change, framing it as, well, how is this going to be better? How could this be an upgrade? What are the positive aspects of this? I can see where there's a lot of good energy in that, not the negative energy of why did it have to change? Why can't we just stay frozen in time? I'm sorry, this doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially with AI, right? You can bury your head in the sand, but it's here. It's not going away. You may as well figure out how can it be upgrade my life, right? The change happened, and you're right. It's outside of my control. But if I see it as, example, I don't type anymore. Literally, I dictate into ChatGPT. It creates a much better email. Then I fix it to what I want it to be, and I send it off. The upgrade is it's less time. I'm not typing as much. Is it a change? 100%. I used to be a really fast typer. Now I'm not as fast because I literally dictate everything into a microphone. So it's just how you look at it, I think.
It kind of marries up with something that my bride and I have started to use 30 years into our marriage, which is simply this. It's what would have to be true. So if we marry that up with this concept of an upgrade, and somebody's like, well, it doesn't feel like an upgrade. And you're like, well, what would have to be true for it to be an upgrade? And you're like, well, geez, if AI would really save me time in these three things, well, maybe we could figure that out. Now, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, change is uncomfortable always. It's kind of human nature. But if this was true, then it would actually feel like an upgrade. You're like, well, then let's make those true, right? Now, all of a sudden, it's something you can control.
Yeah, it's a fascinating way that you did that is you slowed down and you asked a very simple but profound question. How can this be an upgrade for us? Instead of just seeing the negativity, instead of just slow down. Anytime you have a challenge in your life, slow down and ask great questions. I love what you and your lovely bride, that's amazing that you guys do that. That's awesome.
And it's something that just kind of helped us with be a little bit more of an active participant in that reframe. But you mentioned a framework that I want to come back to because it's so powerful, and I loved it the first time that you told me about it. And it's from your win from within approach. You talked about ABC. You were telling me about how much success and how much you're enjoying coming up and helping clients come up with ABC for them, which is align, believe, choose. And you spoke a little bit earlier in our conversation just now about alignment. Can you tell us, just complete the picture for us here, if you will, JM? Tell us about this ABC, align, believe, choose framework. And then let's just start with that. And then I have another question for you on that.
Yeah, so it is the most basic framework. And here, I'm going to say something, and I hope your listeners hear it, and I hope somebody takes advantage of it. If you want to double your revenue of your company, go follow the framework. I'm literally the lowest growth my companies have this year is 47% doing this framework. Now, that's not me bragging other than to say I want people to use it. So alignment, getting very, very clear on exactly who you are, I call it the ACT sheet, which is align, commit, and teamwork, right? Every company that I work with, everyone has the exact same sheet so they know exactly who they are, how they behave, and the culture. Great. So that's the alignment piece. The belief side is a lot of what we're talking about. That's the mindset, right? Now, companies, people, we have some positive beliefs and some aren't so great. We picked up self-limiting beliefs along the way. And my favorite quote from Henry Ford is whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And that's a belief thing. So if you believe you can do this, you're right. You can absolutely accomplish it. If you don't think you can, you're right. You're not going to be able to. And so I work with companies and executives on that belief side. The C part is the simple part, in my opinion. That's just now executing on some of these items, such as having a proper cadence for a meeting or getting up and taking care of yourself first. These are all choices that we have. And so I've been coaching on this for years, Matt, but I didn't call it the ABC framework. And so when I did, it was amazing how companies like, oh, I can do ABC. That's easy. I mean, who can't count ABs, do their ABCs? And once I said, this is the framework, it is insane the amount of success that these companies are having. So that's what it is. I love it. I'm very blessed that it finally came 20 some odd years later. I had to, dumb it down to say this is what the framework is. And now I'm watching people really take advantage of it.
I think a lot of times we skip steps and we focus on your choose is all about action, right? It's the actions you take. And it's so tempting to just focus on, well, the metric is red. I want it to be yellow, then green, whatever it is. Sales, I got to hit my number, whatever it is. And you focus so much on the choices and the behaviors. And you're like, if we're misaligned, if some of us don't really believe in the plan or in ourselves and our function, like all the choice and all the action in the world is not going to add up to success. So you don't get that compounding effect that you're describing, Jam, until all of a sudden you can kind of work that ABC in the right order. Are we aligned and clear and in agreement about this thing? Do we have the fundamental beliefs we need to not hold ourselves back even before we've started? And then you can get to choice. But I feel like there's so much activity inside organizations. And I ask, what's your strategy? And they're like, what's this bundle of things we're doing? I'm like, that's not a strategy, right?
Yeah, it's very insightful. And it's why you're good at what you do, man, is you're absolutely right. That alignment side, I had to figure that out by almost losing my marriage and being really unhealthy. That's how out of alignment I was. Then when I figured out, oh, wait a minute. Oh, let's get very clear on what I love to do, as I mentioned before, what I'm good at, aligning what I believe in with other people. Oh my gosh, now everything's become so much easier. I'm not constantly swimming upstream.
It's you're making me think that it's almost like this works at the individual level. So am I aligned with the things that drive me, right? My values, et cetera. My beliefs, what are my beliefs I hold about myself and my own personal activity and the choices I'm making. And then you can extrapolate that out, like you said, in a relationship, like with a spouse or whatever that might be. Then all of a sudden now inside organizations, we work as teams. You're building teams all the time. You've built and sold businesses. And so it's like at every stage, the ABC is still in play, whether it's one person, two people, multiple people. And it's just like walk the framework, let the framework do the heavy lifting. It sounds like, JM.
See, and this is where my marketing firm, you're right. I agree. They're like, JM, it has to niche. I'm like, this applies to everyone, guys. It applies to me every day. My marriage, again, I bring it up. I'm very open about this because we were aligned value-wise, but we weren't communicating what those values were with one another. Our expectations weren't aligned. Once we did, now, it's 20 years of marriage. And so I guess to your point, it's for individuals, it's for companies, and it's simple things to know. A good example, people will build a company and then they're miserable. It's like, well, it's probably because you're not aligned with what you really wanted. If I wanted freedom and I built a company that I have to be there 80 hours a week, you're going to be miserable. But if I wanted freedom and I built a company that was truly passive income, great. Those things are in alignment. That's a good thing to do. And so it is making sure, what do you really want? And no one can answer that but you.
Well, I think this is why they're lucky to have you as an executive coach, because even for the individual seasoned person who's even on paper, people would look and be like, you're so successful. You built this huge, you're like, yeah, but I'm a slave to my business when I really wanted freedom. And you're like, well, why? You're honoring something about yourself. Maybe you draw value from being needed. Maybe you're creating fires that you get to be the hero and solve. Like, we see it all the time. So sometimes if we don't have that self-awareness and we don't understand what's really important to us, as you said, and sometimes when those things compete, how are you going to let the right one win out? Then we end up sort of flummoxing ourselves, and everybody sees it and picks up on it. And then it only just, sort of propagates out from there.
Yeah, those two words, self-awareness, you're so spot on. And again, being okay with whatever the answers that come back. Sometimes I will ask myself questions. I don't like the answers that come back, but at least now I'm aware. Now I know, oh, this is why that's so painful. That's why that's so out of alignment. That's why it feels like it's so much work. Sometimes you just have to be okay with those answers.
Yeah, it's this idea that what I love most about what you're sharing with us is that little things can go a long way. You're talking about some frameworks that are deceptively simple, but not easy, right? But I think a lot of times we add it up to be more complex than it needs to be. You're giving us, self is a great way of thinking about these 4 elements, and ABC is a great way of thinking about like how to get the order right and the critical things that we need to, and don't just kind of be this blurry of activity and realize that all of this activity and energy is going, but it's not adding up to success. Maybe it's because we haven't thought about things simply enough. We're allowing it to be almost more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, I think that's where, for instance, my company was doing fine, but when I brought somebody from the outside in, they see the flaws. When you're in it, it's very, very challenging because you're passionate about what you're doing and you don't see the challenges that you're creating. That's why whether you bring in a coach or just, I don't care, your neighbor, which is ultimately what I did. Now he's a really smart guy, so that was helpful. But he looked at it and he's like, yeah, dude, like this is your problems here, here, and here. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't see the forest through the trees. It was literally impossible.
Yeah, it's like seeing the back of your head. You can't do it. You need somebody else's help to tell you what's going on back there. So, or at least the aid of a mirror, I guess. But yeah, it's so cool. I think when you are willing to make yourself vulnerable and take a fresh look at yourself and your life, but also your relationship, as we've been talking about, as well as your business, the team that you're on, wherever the listeners listening, whatever your context is. Having the courage to do that and acknowledging you're not going to like everything that you see, but once you're aware of it, you can do something about it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
It's so cool. Well, I tell you what I want to do something about, and that's to have a quick little trivia question. Saw, for example, I always love to do this at the end. We're going to get a multiple choice trivia question here, and it's coming to us from AI. So I don't know the question. I don't know the answer. But I saw that in one of your earlier interviews, you have these 4 non-negotiables that you perform in the morning, for example, before you check your email. So talking about like things like breath work, meditation, yoga, whatever it might be. And that got me thinking about morning rituals. So we're going to get a question about morning rituals. Here it's like I said, multiple choice. Which country is famous for the tradition of drinking matcha tea as part of their morning ritual? Is it A, India, B, Japan, or C, Morocco? Oh, are you a matcha person?
I'm going to go with Japan.
Okay. So if you're playing along at home, audience, again, which country is famous for drinking matcha? Is it A, India, B, Japan, or C, Morocco? We're going to go with B, Japan. And here comes our answer. Correct. Japan is indeed famous for matcha. Jam, you crushed that. You're not a matcha person? You still destroyed that question? Amazing.
Do you know what? When you said, I was thinking actually of Argentina and when they drink their tea. Gosh, now I can't even think of the name. But and then I was like, wait, that's not what he said. He said matcha, so it threw me off a little bit. But yeah, that's cool.
Hey, there it is. It all came together. I love it. Well, I got a much better question for you, JM. Where can my audience go to learn more about you and about Let's Go Win?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. So Let's Go Win. If you look it up, you'll see my face, good, bad, or indifferent. Here you go. But yeah, a lot of free resources available on the website at letsgowin.com. If you want to check out the books, they're all on Amazon. But I guess the main thing I would say, Matt, we talked about the ABC framework. I'm bringing on 2 more clients in 2026. That's it. And I want somebody that's growth minded. They're like, I want to grow sales, leadership, build my teams. That's the only 3 things I'm good at. If you're looking for anything else, don't call me. But if you want to double your revenue through it, give me a shout. And I will be curious to see if anybody of your audience takes advantage of it, because I can't tell you how many times years later, people be like, I just didn't think I was worthy of having this conversation. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a human being. Let's talk. If it's a good fit, let's go build something cool together. So yes, thank you for having me. And I appreciate you letting me share.
I love it. And JM, so listeners, I'm going to have those links for you in the show notes. You're only one click away from learning more about JM's great work and Let's Go Win. JM, thanks so much for being with us today, sharing your insights. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I feel energized, and I'm going to be taking you up on some of your frameworks as I go into my planning for everything that comes next.
Love it. Thank you, brother.
And listeners, thank you as well for investing in yourself, listening to these great tips from JM. And if you have an extra 30 seconds, I'd love a 5-star rating on Spotify or wherever you're listening to podcasts. Helps me to attract other listeners so that they get these great insights too. We're all in this together, and also to get great guests like JM. So that's it for today's show. Don't just manage the business when you can lead the people.